Good evening. Hey,
Hello.
Ray.
Hey, Jim. Long time no see.
It has been forever, hasn't it?
It has been forever and a half. So, what is going on? Those that are tuning in, do we have any viewers yet? Do we know? How do we tell?
I don't know.
Oh, God. Well, anybody that is watching.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
I was going to say, I think that if they do view, welcome. And, oh, we have 5 viewers. I can see it from here. People are probably
cool.
like, just shut up and start talking.
Yeah, exactly. Go to work.
So just keep it moving.
Oh, wait.
We're gonna be.
Wait a minute.
What? Oh, God,
I heard
what?
them. You know what they said?
What did they say? Anybody wearing earphones just now was like, oh, you guys are the worst. So we did a rehearsal of this last night, and it went pretty well. But last night I had my lights on in my house, and I'm not that I don't want y'all to see my house. This isn't MTV Cribs, though, you know. So I decided to turn the lights off, and my cat just bumped into me, and I straight up almost had a heart attack.
Exactly.
There's something very creepy about telling ghost stories with the lights off and in the dark, and I'm creeped out too. So as I tell these stories and we talk about these stories tonight, just know that I'm creeped out. And we have 3 stories from around the USA tonight, and 1 story from good old St. Augustine. The St. Augustine story is going to be a story that we don't generally tell on the tours, something that is kind of out of our route. So it's not like it's so far away that we couldn't walk there, but in an hour and 20 minutes telling stories, we couldn't tell this in particular story at the end. Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling on. Let's go ahead and get started with the ghost stories. What do you think, Jim?
I'm ready. Which one do you want to start with, Renee?
Ready. Let's start off with Tennessee's ghost called the Bell Witch. This is based off of the Blair Witch, though, which is why I accidentally just called it the Blair Witch. Anybody that's seen the 1999 movie, The Blair Witch Project, this is directly based off of this story. So the Bell Witch, a lot of people call a folklore, which is kind of weird. And I want to just say this out straight. I generally do not tell ghost stories if I don't believe them to a certain extent. And this one, I believe so much that it's going to make me look and sound like a crazy person. I have been so passionate about the Bell Witch that I demanded with Jim that we tell it tonight. So the Bell Witch story takes place in Robertson County, Tennessee. And the tale goes on from about 1817 to about 1821, and it is the haunting of the Bell family. So the Bell family is a bunch of farmers, and this guy's just trying to do his job. He's just trying to live his life being a farmer, and he's out in the field one day. This man's name is John Bell, if you're wondering, and he sees this disturbing-looking animal. And so he starts shooting fires at this animal. He starts shooting. Some cases, or some stories that I read said that it was a dog, while others say that it was just an animal. So we'll say that it was a dog. He starts shooting at a dog, and the dog vanishes, and then he starts hearing a voice, like a disembodied voice, and it becomes violent with him and curses his family. After the incident with John Bell and the dog, his daughter, I believe, Betsy, she sees, this is really creepy, she sees a girl in a green dress hanging from a tree and just continues on her merry way. I guess that, if I saw anybody hanging from a tree, I would probably never leave my house again. But she just is totally fine with it. She tells her dad about it. They think it's weird, but nothing really comes of it. They don't ever look too much into it.
Renee, we have a YouTube video of the cave if you want to show it. About 2.5.
We'll get to the cave in a second because that's going to be important later. The Bell Witch Cave. So there's the Bell Witch house, and then there's the Bell Witch Cave. They're two separate things, and the reason why I'm being kind of vague and I'm saying Robertson County is because this is an entity that haunted more than just the Bell family. So they directly attacked the Bell family, and in fact, the Bell Witch is responsible for John Bell's death. But it also was such like a spectacle. Like, people didn't believe the Bell family. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable if you think about it. This disembodied entity that's torturing them and ends up scratching them and biting them and just doing terrible things, including while they slept, they would hear what sound? Hi, Nikki R. How you doing, honey? Hi, Lisa. They would hear a bunch of Morgan. What's up? Chewing on their furniture, which is really really bizarre, but they would hear what sounded like chewing on their furniture. Jim, your microphone is off. Hello, Nancy.
I did that on purpose.
Oh, did you? I was like, where's Jim? And so, can you imagine waking up in the middle of the night, it's pitch black, and you've already been freaked out by seeing a hanging girl in a tree, and all of a sudden you can hear somebody gnawing on your headboard? That must have been terrifying. So they hear like the gnawing on the headboard. They hear footsteps through their house. They hear the sounds of disembodied dogs aggressively fighting in their living room. And so they start telling these people, like all the people around them, including their neighbor, John Johnston, who decides he's going to stay the night at the Bell house. And he's going to see if any of this is true. And so, while John Johnson is at the Bell house, some crazy stuff happens to him, and he just is a blabbermouth and tells everybody. People start wanting to spend nights at the Bell house, including the 7th president of the United States, which is who, Jim?
Wow. I have no idea.
Do you know? Andrew Jackson.
Ah.
And Andrew Jackson
he was a little funny anyhow.
He was a little funny anyhow, you're right. Not to hate on Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson. So he had a run-in with the Bell Witch in 1819, and he was completely terrified of all of Robertson County and reportedly would not step foot in Robertson County, Tennessee. With the Bell Witch Cave, so all this, how we know all this, there's this man named Martin Van Buren Ingram. And Martin Van Buren Ingram, he writes kind of like the eyewitness statements from all these people, and like he looks at diary collections. And while a lot of people had said, oh, none of this is historical, the ancestors of the Bell family to this very day, there's a man named Robert Bell. He's the great-great-grandson of John Bell Sr. He claims that all of this happened, that he has been to the Bell Witch Cave, he has been attacked by the Bell Witch himself, and he has like a very deep and dark connection with the Bell Witch. So the Bell Witch is still around to this day. The Bell Witch has been called Kate in the book. They think that her name is Kate. But I do want to mention that while this might sound like a really scary ghost, the Bell Witch was not mean to everybody. It is said that she liked John Bell Sr.'s wife Lucy quite a bit and even gave her fruit and sang her sweet hymns. So something nice came out of it. But I don't know how happy I would be with a witch that was kind of like scratching my other children. The witch did like the baby. Lucy had John Bell Jr., who was an infant, and the Bell Witch never hurt the infant, but messed up everybody else's lives. And so the Bell Witch, what her intention was the whole time was to kill John Bell Sr. Like, she kept saying that. They kept hearing this disembodied voice that said, I'm going to kill John Bell Sr. I'm going to kill him. I won't leave until he's dead. And so John Bell Sr., who was an alcoholic, he was a known alcoholic, is drinking with his friends one night, and the Bell Witch poisons his alcohol, and he ends up dying of poisoning. How sad and grotesque. And so this is in 1820 when this happens. At his funeral, listen to I just had a heart attack. I sure did, right on camera. Whoops. So, anywho, is it an ad lib? You're just doing your own thing over there, ad libbing. I almost died on camera. You would have seen my ghost. That's what would happen. So, anyway, I lost my train of thought now. What was I saying, Jim? People are gonna start leaving because they think we're crazy.
She was out to kill John Bell.
Yeah, so she succeeded. Oh yeah, at his funeral. Listen to how messed up of a ghost this is. She ain't playing around, Kate the witch. At his funeral, she sings a bunch of drinking songs and laughs and just like mocks and spits on his grave because he was an alcoholic that she believed deserved to die.
Wow.
And so after 1820 and 1821, they said that the Bell Witch sightings had stopped completely, but after John Bell Sr.'s death, that they kind of dwindled out. Like the Bell Witch would come and try to mess with Betsy, who was the daughter. But Betsy just wasn't having it anymore. I mean, this is the same Betsy that didn't care about a girl hanging from a tree, so I really can't blame her. She just said, whatever, Bell Witch, and moved on with her life. The Bell Witch Cave has been reported to be Kate the Witch's house. And so she lives in this dark, deep cave that's about 490 feet long. Betsy Bell, when she was a child, reportedly took a group of friends there, and they were playing around in the cave, and they weren't supposed to be. And one of her little guy friends fell into a deep part of the cave and got stuck and couldn't get out. And they heard a voice coming from inside the cave. I guess this is all before stuff was happening at the Bell house. But they heard a voice. Freaky. They heard a voice coming from inside the cave, and the voice just kept telling them, don't worry, he's not going to die. I'll save him. And then whoosh, he popped out of the cave, and then they got a lecture from this disembodied voice. They couldn't see it. Again, this is something that is just completely invisible. It's an invisible entity. And it was saying, oh, you shouldn't do that. Your mother is going to spank your behind kind of deal. So the Bell Witch. We have some photos of the Bell Witch Cave, right?
I've got a video of it from A&E.
A video. I do want to say that with ghost sightings of the Bell Witch, like I said, they still happen to this very day. If you've watched the show Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans and his crew caught a crazy amount of action in there, evidence, including what sounded like a pig grunting. And this is important because this is something I really didn't touch on too much. But the Bell Witch has been known as a shapeshifter and would taunt John Bell Sr. By becoming his deceased parents and saying awful things to him as his deceased parents. And well, a lot of people think that the Bell Witch drove him to alcoholism and ultimately later his death. So, yeah, let's show some of those photos of the cave.
Starting off with the video.
And up with the video, yes. Put up that video. Hi, y'all. How you doing? I think we have about, I saw 16. We're down to 16 lovely viewers. Hi, viewers. What's up? How's quarantine going? It's going good for us, too. We're just waiting to pull that video up. If you guys have ever been to the Bell Witch Cave or the Bell Witch house, please comment down below. Tell us if you had any paranormal experiences there. We're also going to be talking... Oh, here's a video. I'll shut up.
Lots of time.
The stories are true.
So, yeah, that all happens. Like people are saying, they keep hearing stuff. They feel uneasy. And if you ever get to go and check it out, it's supposedly as soon as you go into the cave, you're just overwhelmed with a sense of doom and dread. Now we're going to move on to our next ghost story of the night, which is about the RMS Queen Mary ship in Long Beach, California. This is one that I really want to go and visit. It has been reported by Time magazine. This was in 2008 that they reported this. As one of the most haunted places to go to in the world and one of the most haunted places to stay. So the Queen Mary is a retired ocean liner ship and a warship from World War II, and it originally sailed from the years 1936 to 1967. So it was originally used for luxury, and you had to be rich to go on the Queen Mary. Everybody wanted to go on the Queen Mary. But by the time that World War II broke out, ain't nobody had time for luxury anymore. And so they used the ship to carry troops. And this is where a lot of like the death and hardships come into. I know that the Queen Mary ship was present at D-Day, and that it was used to carry soldiers, brides, and babies at one point. And I mean, it's been in films. This is just a very famous ship. Anybody that is a fan of BuzzFeed Unsolved, that is a great series if you haven't seen it. They actually went and did an investigation of the Queen Mary. They stayed the night in the dreaded room I think it's B40?
B340.
B340. And in room B340, a murder occurred there, and there is an angry spirit that stomps around, turns the water on and off. I always get this question on tours, and I want to make this clear. Spirits do not just turn on water on and off and open cabinets and break glasses just because they have nothing better to do. Usually they're doing that to get your attention. So I'm going to say, even though I've never experienced the spirit in B340, I think that the spirit is not angry and perhaps just wanting to tell what happened to him, since he was murdered and maybe it was never solved. There wasn't really a whole lot of information on the murder that occurred there, but the spirit maybe has something to say about his murder. And they stay in the room and they end up hearing just what I said: footsteps, water dripping, and the one guy ended up not being able to sleep in there. He said, I'm just gonna stay up all night. I can't close my eyes. There's something in here watching us. Other things that occur at Queen Mary, the show Poseidon Adventures. Jim, have you ever seen that?
I have.
I think my mom liked that show too. She's mentioned that before.
Show.
It was a good show? Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but 2 men were crushed by a giant iron door while filming on the Queen Mary, and it said their spirits are still around there too. And this dreaded door is called Door 13. Visitors claim to see another man who was killed by this door.
Door.
That's the door, yep. Mm-hmm. And he was an engineer, and he ended up being crushed in between the door and I guess the wall. It's a very heavy door. They show it in a couple of clips I was watching, and it like takes 2 people to practically open the door. It's very heavy. I talked about how the ship carried soldiers, brides, and babies to go and see them, and a lot of them were pregnant. The brides were pregnant, and they ended up dying during childbirth. And so people hear babies crying on the ship, and people also hear mothers comforting their ghost babies. Ghost babies are real. We gotta love on ghost babies too, right?
Well, long before she retired, the Queen Mary had some other pretty good stories as well, such as the accident during World War II.
What is the accident?
You don't know?
I don't know.
Queen Mary was converted to a troop carrier at the beginning of World War II.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying.
They had a bunch of British destroyers surrounding her so that the German U-boats couldn't get her, and the one in the front was called the Curacao. The Curaçao's job was to weave back and forth in front of the Queen Mary so that a U-boat couldn't put a target on her, that there was always something moving in front.
Okay.
Well, it got too slow and got ran over by the Queen Mary. Out of 400 and some crew, only 93 were saved.
Wow. Yeah, I was reading that a lot of people died. There was something like over 150 spirits haunting the Queen Mary. But of course I can't, it would take up the whole 40 minutes that we had on live stream if I talked about all 150 spirits, of course. A lot of people perished in the Queen Mary. I will say that they do ghost tours in the Queen Mary. So if you're somebody that's going to California, after, it's not locked down. But if you're going to California and you get the chance to go to Long Beach, definitely spend a night on the Queen Mary. Again, it's not used. It doesn't sail anymore. It's just used for a hotel. It is docked.
You can even
Moving
rent
on.
340.
You can even rent room 340. They weren't doing it for a while because it was like all
time,
nasty, and it needed to be renovated. But in recent times, like I'm talking the last 2-3 years,
right,
they've been you've been able to rent 340. Good luck if you stay in there. We're gonna be moving on to our third story out of third out of 4 stories that we're going to be telling. And this is of the LaLaurie Mansion. I am so excited to tell you guys about this. If you've ever watched American Horror Story, they did a decent job of portraying the actual like legend side of LaLaurie and Madame Delphine. So the LaLaurie Mansion is in New Orleans, Louisiana, at 1140 Royal Street. And Madame LaLaurie is this old Irish lady that was dubbed the cruel mistress of the haunted house. That's what everybody in New Orleans calls LaLaurie Mansion. They call it the haunted house. And this lady, Marie Delphine McCarty, she was born in 1787. She was super rich. She had come from a family of wealth, so it was not like new money. It was old money. She came from a family of honored military men. She came from a family of luxury real estate sellers, of planters, and she was not a good wife. She was not a good wife. She was not a good mother. She ended up going through about 3 husbands. She loved the third husband, practically to death, and his name was Louis LaLaurie, which is why she kept the name Madame LaLaurie. So Louis LaLaurie, he was like a chiropractor. They call him a doctor, but from further reading, he was just a glorified chiropractor. And Madame LaLaurie Delphine, she had a lot of kids. She had about, I think, like 3 or 4 kids, and one of her daughters had a spinal deformity. I don't know if it's like politically acceptable to say the word hunchback. That seems wrong, but she had a hunchback. And so Delphine didn't want to see her daughter like that. She thought it was ugly and ordered Louis LaLaurie to fix her daughter's back. Well, he ended up torturing her. Like, he straight up was like breaking her back while she was not under any kind of medication. And even when he saw it wasn't working, he didn't stop. He tortured her to death. She does not end up being cured, is what the article said. And then later the article that I was reading said that she now had 2 daughters instead of 3 or 4 or whatever it was, right? After this terrible thing happens with one of her daughters, she decides that she loves Louis LaLaurie. He's the bomb. He got rid of her deformed daughter, and so she's going to get pregnant by him and then marry him off and keep him forever. And so they end up moving in New Orleans, and they do not have a happy marriage. She's just crazy, and she keeps yelling at him, and he decides that he's had enough of her stuff and packs up and leaves. She goes absolutely crazy, and she starts taking her hate and all of her anger out on her slaves. So this is a time period when they had slaves. She was torturing them, abusing them, and eventually she pushes one named Leia off of the balcony in daylight in the town square for everybody to see. There's no hiding it. Everybody knows she did it. Everybody knows she did it for no reason. And the town has like a meeting, and they come together and they say, we have to free the LaLaurie slaves before something terrible happens. And they're successful. They end up freeing the slaves until she has, like I said, she had all this money, wealthy family. She shows her money to the town and says, nope, I'm going to buy them back. I legally can. I'm going to flash all this money at you, throw it at you, and they're mine now. So no more freed slaves. She takes the slaves back, and everything goes quiet for about a year until April 10th, 1834. That morning, a terrible fire wakes up the whole city. It's going on in the LaLaurie house. It's just burning ablaze, and the whole top part of like the side paneling, I guess, falls off of the LaLaurie mansion and reveals a torture chamber where she had been keeping her slaves for that past year. How did the fire start? Well, after the fire's put out and they're going through the whole mansion, they find on the first floor a slave girl that was chained to the stove. Her hands were chained to the stove so that she could burn as a form of punishment. And somehow she ended up setting off a fire in the entire mansion. Some of the torturings that occurred were starvation. I even read that she drilled holes in some of their heads. And a lot of them were covered in honey and black ants. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Diane. So she's a messed up lady. And the townspeople after this, they weren't having Madame LaLaurie Delphine anymore. They attack her household. They free all the slaves again. They steal all of her valuables. They rob her so that she can't flash any money at them anymore. And they claim that she didn't deserve any of these lavish lifestyle from the get-go. The newspapers were super cruel to her, too. I mean, they weren't cruel to her, but they called her cruel names such as demon and monster and a fury coming from hell. Kind of deserved, if you ask me. She ends up leaving New Orleans and allegedly changing her name. She kind of drops off the face of the world. Nobody ever hears from her again. That's why a lot of people think she changed her name. For over 200 years, the LaLaurie Mansion has had a lot of paranormal activity, including slaves still crying for help heard all throughout the mansion. The house is full of negative energy. They hear the moaning and screams of anguish all throughout the household. They hear phantom footsteps. In 1894, because after LaLaurie ditched town, the house was turned into apartments. And there's this tenant, a man, that stays there, and he keeps waking up to this entity that is sort of like, if you think about it, sort of like the Bell Witch that's saying that I'm not going to leave you alone until you're dead. You're not going to get out of this this haunting without being dead. I'm taking you back to hell with me. That sort of thing. That scared me. And he told his friend all about it. So his friend just is like, relax, have a drink, smoke some opium, because it was totally legal at the time, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Well, several weeks after this exchange between his friend and the tenant is found brutally murdered, just like completely massacred in his bedroom. His belongings are in shambles, but nothing is stolen. And yeah, that spirit's there too. That's another one they say is there. Who did this to him? Who is the spirit that would not leave him alone until he was dead? We're getting to that. I'll give you a hint. She ditched out. So in the 19th century, after I guess the whole thing with the tenant happened, it was turned into a school for all African American girls. And it wasn't soon before reports started going back to the headmaster with girls that claimed they were being scratched, they were being bit, they were having their hair pulled, that there was a woman standing at the foot of their bed, and that they were absolutely just scared for their life of the woman. The tour company that goes by the LaLaurie house, because it is privately owned, the LaLaurie Mansion, they claim that the building is haunted by Madame Delphine LaLaurie herself. And that several people have encountered her harsh spirits on their tours. And from what I was reading, they'll see like the lights cut out completely, and then all of a sudden it's like whoever's living there goes downstairs to flip the breaker, and the lights will come back off, and they'll immediately turn back off again. And you have to think like stuff like that. Is it poor wiring, or is it something more? Is it something paranormal? Because every time they're mentioning Delphine from out of her house and they're bad-mouthing Delphine, these electrical problems seem to happen. Nicolas Cage, yes, the actor, he loves New Orleans. He blames all of his acting issues on Delphine LaLaurie. You see, he bought the house in 2009, and soon after buying the house, he had a bout of bad luck. His acting career went sour. He went bankrupt, and he says that it's all because of the curse of LaLaurie. However, it could just be because he's not a very good actor too. Sorry, Nicolas Cage fans. The tour company that I was talking to and reading the articles from, they say that nobody lives in that house for more than 5 to 7 years. And the man that currently owns the LaLaurie Mansion is an oil man from Texas, and he lives there by himself. He's been there since 2013, but he only makes short stays on weekends, and he also thinks that the building is cursed by Madame Delphine LaLaurie.
Wow.
So, do we have any pictures or anything of this one, Jim?
I don't have any of her, but we need to go to our last local story of the night.
Yes, we do.
It's that time of
So,
the night.
it is. I have a personal story about this one. So, this is a ghost that I've encountered. Not to name drop our company there, but this is a good one. We're going to be talking about our bonus story, our St. Augustine story, our story that we do not tell on our tours, but we are going to share special for you. We even have, do we have the Flagler virtual that we'll pull up and show them The inside? We're not going to do that?
No, I was going to jump the old house.
Oh, okay,
Let's do
okay.
Flagler next week.
Okay. Oh,
We'll do
do
Flagler
you want to
Tuesday
talk about?
night.
Do you want to talk about the old house?
The oldest house.
Then. All right. So I'll let you take it away then.
Okay. So this story is about the oldest house in St. Augustine, or the alleged oldest house. And this particular video has been viewed, believe it or not, as of today, 2,183,000 times. I'm going to play it for you now. I've condensed it, taken a lot of stuff out of the middle of it, and I'll let you decide, is this a true haunting, or is this a spoof?
We're waiting for the video to come up while we're waiting for that. This video, it was viewed over, you say 2 million times?
Yes.
Crazy. All right. Again, if you've been to the LaLaurie Mansion, or you've been even to the oldest oldest house in St. Augustine, please comment and tell us if you've had any paranormal experiences there. And also, if you have any paranormal photos or videos or evidence, send it to us. We'd love to be able to share that with our audience. Again, we're planning on doing this every Friday, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And so we'll be happy to share any evidence you send in with our general audience.
St. Augustine, Florida was founded in 1565. It is the oldest continuously occupied European established city, and its claim to fame is the fact that it is the most haunted city in the continental United States. Some of the city's most haunted sites include...
We're in St. Augustine, Florida, at the oldest...
I don't know if there's any audio, Jim.
...of America.
This house is supposedly very haunted. This isn't the oldest house. This is the adjoining house. There's stated to be this room here when the Spanish Armadas set a surveillance camera up in this corner and see if anything.
So watch closely.
Yep, it's coming.
Right there. Moving the cursor
Yep.
along with it.
It's going to pass in front of the doorway.
It goes from this room into the next room, becomes even more pronounced. It disappears out the glass window. You tell us, is it real or is it a spoof?
So, here is my opinion. Is there like a weird chittering noise that you're hearing? Or is that just me? I'm hearing something weird. Oh, well, then I'm hearing things and I'm going crazy. Sorry, y'all.
Again?
With shadows, always. With shadows, I've seen some weird shadows. I've had a paranormal experience where I've been inside, actually Potter's Wax Museum, where we saw a shadow, and then later when photos were sent back to me, it was a real person standing there. And so it's always... I always say seeing is believing. With this video in particular, when I first watched it before, Jim, to be honest, I was like, I don't know about it. It looks a little funny, but I think it's mostly just because of the video quality. It's grainier, but because they're using what looks like night vision to me. It is interesting, and I've been watching like how to see where there's editing done, that kind of deal, and you can usually tell when editing is done. It doesn't look like it's editing to me. It does look like as it moves past that door handle, it goes back into the other room as if a real shadow was there. The only explanation, if somebody were to say, oh, that's not real and have proof, the only thing I could say would be that somebody had to be standing by a light source behind the camera causing that shadow to happen, which that camera is positioned in the corner of that room, and that is just an impossible scenario. So I'm going to say that that's real ghost evidence, but please sound off in the comments below if you think it's real, if you don't think it's real. Again, if you've had a haunted experience at the oldest house, you can tell us about that. And any of these videos, maybe we'll try to put the link to that video and the other video that we showed tonight if you're interested in watching more about it. You want to know more information about it, we'll put some of that stuff in sources below. But that's it for us tonight then, huh, Jim?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I think it's a spoof, and I can show you why I think so. Let's
Why?
go back to the video for a second.
Okay.
Blow it up.
Florida was founded in 1565. It is the oldest continuously occupied European established city, and its claim to fame is the fact that it is the most haunted city in the continental United States. Some of the city's most haunted sites include
We're in St. Augustine, Florida, at the oldest house in the United States.
Okay, so to start with, this is the guy that allegedly took the video, and he's standing in what is the outdoor kitchen, which is on the north side, away from the street side of the oldest house.
Okay.
Of America.
This house
He's now stepped into the house next door to the oldest house, and that was empty for a number of years.
is supposedly very haunted.
Talking about it being
This isn't-
haunted, he then comes up
this
with this
isn't the
wild
oldest
story that
house.
I've never heard living here 52 years, that there were 60 people killed in
This
this
is the
room.
adjoining house.
I've never heard that story, never,
This
not once.
stated to be this room
These
here.
windows that you're seeing, Renee,
Yeah.
are on the street side of St. Francis Street.
Hey,
Now,
they're
what-
also hearing like what sounds like a straw ticking. I'm just looking at comments now. Sounds like a clock they're saying. So some sort of feedback is going on. But I don't know what it is.
I don't know either. I can turn this down and turn.
Ah, that fixed it.
I fixed it.
Kind
Okay,
of.
good.
No, it didn't. I lied.
What? Did I
We'll
fix-
figure that out after we go off live. But I'm
All right,
sorry
here we
that
go.
you had to listen to the ticking.
When the
So as
Spanish
you go to the
Armadas
room,
set a surveillance camera up in this corner and see if
here's where he's talking about he's going to set his surveillance camera. Notice the
Right.
position of the door. See where it's at?
It's different.
If he's going to put a camera in that corner, look what happens when it turns around. You tell me if that's the corner he put it in or not.
anything happens.
Now that's his
It's
shot right
not-
there.
Yeah.
He's not in that corner. He's across from it. He's in the back. He's at the back of that house again. And there
But
is a
here's-
doorway where these poles
Oh.
are. There's a
Mhm.
doorway. You can see the light. See the light shining through right here? There's a
Yeah.
doorway that's open right there.
But Jim, he would have had to walk physically in front of the camera to cause that. Because it goes so smoothly.
He only had to
I
walk
don't
in
know.
front of the light source.
I think it's real. That's what I'm saying. It looks like, because I don't know. You would also hear him walking.
There he goes. He could be outside in the yard. He's blocking the shadow of the light entering the room.
I disagree. Just because the way it disappears into the doorway too. I'm gonna say that this is real, but Jim doesn't think it's real. This is why we review evidence, because I mean, it's all, how do I want to phrase this? I'm not very good with words. Some of y'all might have noticed that. But this is why we compare evidence, because he might have seen something that maybe I wasn't seeing before, and now that we've compared it, we can draw conclusions from that. I think it's real. He doesn't. Please sound off in the comments below if you think it's real or not. And if you have any suggestions for what you want to hear on Tuesday, again, let us know. We're not going to be telling any of the stories on our traditional ghost tour that you can take at a ghostly encounter, but we're going to be trying to do stories from all over the United States, and I really all over the world. I don't care, just as long as it's spooky and that it's interesting to me. I love ghosts. I love dead people. So yeah. Jim, any other input you'd like to put in? We're going to find out
From
what that
Renee and I,
ticking
to all
sign
of our
is.
fans, to everybody that joined us tonight, thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you for joining us.
I agree. Thank you. You guys are the bomb.
Good night.
Goodbye. Good night. Are we still live? We're still live, Jim.